In the sweltering Texas summer, a young woman's dreams seemed to wither away like the parched earth beneath her feet. She felt trapped, suffocated by the mundane routine of her life, with no escape in sight. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the kitchen, a constant reminder of her duties, as she gazed out the window, her eyes fixed on the sky. The sound of birds chirping and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze only added to her sense of longing, her heart yearning for something more. What lay beyond the horizon, she wondered, and why did it feel so out of reach? The warmth of the sun on her skin and the soft caress of the breeze only seemed to intensify her desire for freedom. As she went about her day, the young woman's mind wandered, her thoughts consumed by the thrill of adventure and the rush of adrenaline that came with it. She felt a sense of discontent, a restlessness that she couldn't shake, like a whispered secret in her ear. Her want was clear: she yearned to fly, to soar through the skies and feel the wind rushing past her face. The smell of gasoline and oil, the roar of engines, and the sight of planes taking off and landing all captivated her, drawing her in like a magnet. But beneath this desire, a deeper need stirred, a need to prove herself, to shatter the expectations that had been placed upon her. The feel of the earth beneath her feet, the solidity of the ground, seemed to contradict the lightness she felt in her heart, the sense of weightlessness that came with dreaming. The young woman's days blended together in a haze of monotony, until one fateful evening, when a chance encounter changed everything. She stumbled upon a group of barnstorming pilots, their planes a blur of color and sound as they performed death-defying stunts in the sky. The smell of smoke and grease filled the air, and the crowd's gasps of amazement were like music to her ears. As she watched, transfixed, a sense of wonder washed over her, and she felt the thrill of possibility. It was as if the universe had finally awoken, and the doors to a new world had swung open, beckoning her to enter. The sound of the planes, the feeling of the wind in her hair, and the sight of the pilots, all combined to create a sense of exhilaration, a sense of freedom that she had never experienced before. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the landscape, the young woman felt an insatiable hunger ignite within her. She knew, in that moment, that she had to learn to fly, no matter the cost. The stars began to twinkle in the night sky, like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse, and the world seemed full of endless possibilities. The gentle rustle of the leaves, the soft hooting of owls, and the distant rumble of thunder, all seemed to lull her into a sense of tranquility, a sense of peace that she had never known before. As she drifted off to sleep, the sound of her own heartbeat was like a lullaby, a reminder that she was alive, and that anything was possible. The young woman's journey was just beginning, and the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. She would face obstacles that would test her courage, her determination, and her resolve. But for now, as she lay in bed, surrounded by the darkness of the night, she felt a sense of peace, a sense of calm that she had never known before. The softness of her pillow, the warmth of her blanket, and the sound of her own breathing, all combined to create a sense of comfort, a sense of security that she had never experienced before. As she drifted off to sleep, she felt her eyelids growing heavy, her breath slowing, and her body relaxing, letting go of all the tensions of the day. As the days turned into weeks, the young woman's desire to fly only intensified. She devoured every book and article she could find on the subject, her mind soaking up the knowledge like a sponge. She spent hours watching the barnstorming pilots, studying their every move, and learning from their experiences. The smell of smoke and grease, the roar of engines, and the sight of planes taking off and landing, all captivated her, drawing her in like a magnet. But with each step forward, a new challenge arose, like a hurdle on the track. The cost of lessons was prohibitively expensive, and the few flying schools that existed were reluctant to take on a female student. The young woman's dreams seemed to be slipping further away, like sand between her fingers. The feel of the earth beneath her feet, the solidity of the ground, seemed to contradict the lightness she felt in her heart, the sense of weightlessness that came with dreaming. As she navigated the complex web of obstacles, the young woman began to feel the weight of her own doubts and fears. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she failed? The questions swirled in her mind, like a maelstrom, threatening to pull her under. But she refused to give up, drawn forward by the siren's call of her desire. She wrote letters to flying schools, pleading her case, and begging for a chance to prove herself. The scratch of her pen on paper, the feel of the ink flowing, and the sound of the mailbox creaking open, all seemed to echo with anticipation. And then, one day, a response arrived, like a lifeline thrown to a drowning sailor. A flying school in Chicago was willing to take her on, but only if she could raise the funds to pay for her lessons. The young woman's heart leapt with excitement as she felt the thrill of possibility. The sound of the city, the smell of the food, and the feel of the wind in her hair all combined to create a sense of exhilaration, a sense of freedom that she had never experienced before. As she worked tirelessly to raise the money, the young woman's days blended together in a blur of activity. She took on extra jobs, sold her possessions, and even went door to door, asking for donations. The clang of pots and pans, the smell of cooking oil, and the sound of footsteps on the sidewalk all seemed to blend together in a symphony of exhaustion. But she refused to give up, driven by her determination to succeed. And then, just when it seemed like the universe was smiling upon her, disaster struck. A fire swept through her neighborhood, destroying her home and leaving her with nothing. The young woman's world came crashing down around her, like a house of cards in a gust of wind. The smell of smoke, the feel of heat, and the sound of sirens all seemed to echo with devastation. As she stood amidst the ashes, feeling the weight of her losses, she realized that she had reached a crossroads. The darkness seemed to press in around her, like a physical presence, and the young woman felt the crushing weight of her doubts and fears. It was the darkest hour, the moment when all seemed lost, and the young woman's future hung in the balance, like a feather on the wind. The feel of the ground beneath her feet, the solidity of the earth, seemed to contradict the lightness she felt in her heart, the sense of weightlessness that came with dreaming. As she stood there, frozen in uncertainty, the young woman felt her eyelids growing heavy, her breath slowing, and her body relaxing, letting go of all the tensions of the day. The sound of her own heartbeat was like a lullaby, a reminder that she was alive, and that anything was possible. As the young woman stood at the crossroads, the darkness began to recede, like a tide pulling back from the shore. The weight of her doubts and fears still lingered, but it was no longer crushing. She felt a spark within her, a flame that flickered to life, casting a warm glow over the landscape of her heart. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the sound of birds singing in the distance, their melodies intertwining like the threads of a rich tapestry. The earth beneath her feet seemed to stir, as if the very ground itself was awakening, responding to the young woman's newfound sense of purpose. With a deep breath, she lifted her gaze to the sky, and the stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse. The moon, a silver crescent, cast a gentle light, illuminating the path ahead. The young woman's heart swelled with determination, and she took her first step forward, into the unknown. The ground beneath her feet seemed to yield, like a soft cushion, and her footsteps were silent, as if she were walking on air. The world around her grew quieter, the sounds of the night receding, as if the very universe itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what she would do next. And then, in a burst of courage, she spread her arms and let the wind lift her up. The rush of air was exhilarating, like a cool breeze on a summer's day, and the young woman felt herself soaring, her spirit unencumbered by the doubts and fears that had held her back for so long. She was flying, free and unencumbered, with the wind beneath her wings. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the landscape, and the young woman felt its warmth on her face, like a gentle caress. The world was full of color and sound, a rich tapestry of sensations, and she was a part of it, connected to every thread. As she flew, the young woman felt her heart fill with joy, and her spirit expand, like a balloon filling with air. She was no longer bound by the limitations of her past, and she saw the world with new eyes, like a child discovering the magic of the world for the first time. The wind ruffled her hair, and the sun shone down on her face, warming her skin, and she felt alive, truly alive, for the first time in her life. And when she finally returned to the ground, she was changed, transformed by the experience, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. She had faced her fears, and overcome them, and in doing so, she had discovered a strength and a courage she never knew she possessed. The young woman's eyes grew heavy, her breath slowing, as she felt the weight of her journey lifting, like a burden being removed from her shoulders. Her body relaxed, letting go of all the tensions of the day, and she felt herself sinking into the earth, like a stone sinking into a quiet pool. The sound of her own heartbeat was like a lullaby, a reminder that she was alive, and that anything was possible. And as she stood there, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, she knew that she had found what she had been searching for, not in the world outside, but within herself. Let that thought carry you now, as the night grows quiet. You have heard her story. Now rest in it, feeling the softness of your bed and the gentleness of the darkness. Allow your eyelids to grow heavy and your breath to slow as you drift off to sleep, carried by the wind of her courage. Subscribe to HISTOREST. Next week, we will meet another soul who changed the world one quiet decision at a time. Good night.